Today I'm so excited to have my own dad, Dr. Stacy Peterson, with me here in his own office at the house where I grew up. For Father's Day weekend, we wanted to feature the man behind our music business, our own dad, Dr. Stacy Peterson. Having attended countless violin recitals, orchestra concerts, and gigs, he's been our #1 supporter. Dad, what is it like to live with a house full of musicians?
Well, I think it's a real privilege because, music has just incredible impact in people's lives. And I'm the one that's the recipient of it. I get to hear all this great stuff. And, if I had to think of the 5 best investments I've ever made in my life, it's probably my kids. And I think in terms of music, Martin Luther once said, he says, in short, the noble art of music is the greatest treasure on earth after God's Word. It governs every thought, sense, feeling, and disposition. So for me to, invest in the lessons and the time and the instrument, hey, it's paid off 100-fold. So it's been great.
Growing up, you were a drummer yourself for a few years. What are some of your favorite memories from that experience?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't really call myself a drummer. We're talking junior high here, and in my family, I have a brother-in-law who's a professor of percussion at Arkansas Tech. So you got to realize that on the spectrum, in view of that, I'm about a .1 on the scale in terms of being a percussionist. But I enjoyed it, and the reason I had to be a drummer was because I tone deaf and I couldn't really sing in choir.
Oh, no.
So I had to play an instrument, and then it's like, well, what instrument can you play that you don't have to be able to tune it? So that's why I was in percussion. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
You've done a few percussion moves for us over the years.
Sure. The rhythm's not a problem. It's the pitch.
There you go. There you go. Dad, you've always encouraged us to work to achieve our dreams. What are some of your favorite quotes that you use to encourage teachers and students?
Well, there's been lots. I've had a lot of tremendous mentors and teachers over the years, but one quote that I really appreciate was from Tom Landry. He's the late Dallas Cowboy football coach, which is not music, but I think it's applicable. And he said, "My job is to get men to do what they don't want to do in order to achieve what they've always wanted to achieve." Well, how many kids want to practice every day?
Not most of
but,
them.
but how many then want to achieve great things? And so how do we, as teachers or coaches or doctors or whatever, how do we get those individuals to achieve what they want to achieve when they don't want to practice? They don't want to put in the sweat. Anything that's worth doing requires sweat. The other quote that I think is really important is that, this was from, let's see if I can find it here, C.S. Lewis, and he says, there are no ordinary people. You never have talked to a mere mortal. Let's face it, some students are just hard to teach. Some residents are hard to teach. But Christ died for them, and they're not ordinary. There are no ordinary people, and we need to keep that in mind, that even not your best student still is a very special person in the Lord's eyes. And we do what we can to help that person, even if they may not have as much talent as somebody else. Yeah.
We're teaching the person
Right.
and not just the skill.
Right.
What advice would you offer to parents of new music students?
Well, I've never been a music teacher, but I do teach medical students and residents. And what I tell them, I think, is applicable to music in the fact that you don't have to be brilliant to be a surgeon, but you do have to persevere. And, other than a few people like Isaac Perlman, or maybe they just have or a Mozart that can just pick up an instrument and play, most of us are not like that. It almost always requires incredible perseverance, and I think that's the key. You have to hang in there. You've got to persevere to be able to learn to play violin or piano or whatever. So.
Thanks again for being willing to talk to me today. Do you have any concluding advice or suggestions for people as they're kind of embarking on their career now that you're looking back over your career?
Yeah, I think what I would say is it's not the duration of your life that counts. It's the donation of your life that counts.
Thank you so much, Dad. It's been a pleasure getting to talk to you on Father's Day.
Great.
Thank you so much.